Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everybody. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Jonny Sue is on the ones and twos. Like, share, subscribes. That's what Fiorella's doing right now. Let's get it out there. Let's get it started. We have a big show for you today. We have a busy week. Bernie's in town.
Yes.
A lot of things are going on. There'll be some seafood eating at this joint this coming week. So it's going to be a lot of fun stuff. So, fam, let's get right into it.
Oh, my friend's calling me.
All right, let's get into it.
Fam. So we have a lot going on. And one of the things that was really big this morning was Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard so far has voted to abstain from the impeachment resolution. But these are the proceedings to the impeachment resolution. And I want to make sure we understand that. And I'm going to break that down a little bit because it's really confusing to a lot of people because there's a series of votes that these people, these Congress people and these senators have to take. So Tulsi Gabbard, as you guys can see here, was one of the ones who voted no to abstain. Mm-hmm. And we have the chart here of who voted aye and then who voted nay. So for the most part, I think we could all guess who voted aye. It was a squad. Ro Khanna, everybody that's usually, on the left, and whether they're considered progressive or not, the majority of these Democrats were all unison. Now, Tulsi Gabbard abstained, which a couple of people also did. But why is that important? Well, it kind of tells us that she's really taking her time to decide what her actual vote on impeachment in a few hours is going to be. Because she's listening to a lot of her base. So a lot of her base is very much against impeachment. Pasta, why are you, as a Tulsi supporter, against impeachment?
Because I'm for institutions. I mean, if we're going to be, if we're going to keep our institutions in order, if we're going to keep our democracy in order, which it's far out of order, we have to, respect institutions. And this is one of the most divisive acts out there. It's really just about to cover their nefarious acts more than anything, and we're not talking about the things we need to be talking about. It does energize his base. It does. That's exactly what it does. It's going to make him look like the victim. It makes him look more hypocritical. But really, to tell you the truth, the positive thing I am taking out of this, that I think that it's going to fracture the Democratic Party even further, that it's really going to help Bernie Sanders get through. In other words, Adam Schiff has a new primary opponent. Nancy Pelosi does. I want this to fracture them so much that they got to take time away from all this BS, concentrate on a race, and allow Bernie Sanders to slip through.
I think one of the best things that congressional candidates can do is to really not even mention impeachment. If I were them, if you're a leftist running for Congress, don't even mention impeachment. And the reason I say that is because either way, you're going to be criticized. If you're running as a Democrat but you're really a Democratic Socialist or an independent, they're going to criticize you for not sticking with the Democratic Party. If you are for it, then the independents and the libertarians and those people are going to be like, why are you for this sham? Personally, my opinion is I agree with Pasta that more than the institution, it is the reason that Donald Trump is being impeached that I'm against. So I'm not against him being impeached for actual impeachable offenses, but I am against him being impeached for this particular reason. We've talked about it many times here. The Democrats are just as guilty. They're trying to cover up their guilt and their, what they're doing, what they did in Ukraine with regime change, and they're trying to put it all on Donald Trump. Meanwhile, nobody's talking about actual important issues like the Afghani papers, and we're going to kind of discuss this a little bit further.
Can we talk about this real quick? We don't need that chart anymore, right? Let's get rid of that chart so I get a little bit more room up here. But let's talk about this because I was talking with somebody even further down the rabbit hole when it comes to impeachment. Well, you said yourself you're not against impeaching him like on, let's say, emoluments, and Shahid Buttar was big on that, talking about emoluments. But as a person in the bubble, as a person who's politically inclined, don't you think it's wrong to impeach Donald Trump on emoluments first? Why would we do it when it's just about tribal lines? I mean, if you're going to impeach Donald Trump on emoluments, why shouldn't Nancy Pelosi, all the way down to Dick Cheney, be held accountable. Why Donald Trump first? Doesn't it look bad as a Democrat if you want to impeach somebody from the other side first, when somebody on your side is not being held accountable for the same nefarious types of acts?
You could also say the same thing backwards, like, why are we just now going to impeach Nancy Pelosi? Why are we just now going to go after all these people? And the fact of the matter is because people are finally realizing a lot of things. After Bernie Sanders, a lot of these veils came out. And, you know, Donald Trump isn't somebody I'm going to die on a hill for. I don't think, I'm not against making an example out of him, but I do see your point, and I feel like we do need to go after, if we're going to impeach Donald Trump on any of these things that other presidents have done before, then we're going to have to go back and be like, look, like, this was wrong. What Bush did was wrong. Mm-hmm. We need to stop pretending that George Bush was some sort of saint because now he's not president. He got us into the most costly war, both monetarily and as far as lives, in the longest time since Vietnam. And you know, people like to ignore that. And I agree with you that they should be held accountable. That I am not really for pushing impeachment in general as my main issue, because what I see is that Donald Trump has done impeachable things for getting rid of the protection for Yemen. I think that is something awful. But again, you can go back and say, well, look what Obama did. Yeah. Well, look what was done under Hillary Clinton. Well, look what was done against. I mean, yes, but you're always going to have that argument. I think it could set a precedent, and I think more people would be willing to do it. That said, I do think that it is like making an example out of Donald Trump because of the Trump derangement syndrome. But again, I'm not going to say that Donald Trump hasn't done things that are worthy of it. And again, I don't think it should be our focus, because now we're wasting time talking about impeachment when we should be talking about, hey, what policies are going to help Americans drive them out of poverty. And that's what we're going to go on and explain in a couple minutes as to what is wrong with America, that they don't protest on actual economic justice, economic issues on war, against war, but they're so quick to protest against impeachment or for impeachment.
It's kind of like what Max Blumenthal, I think it was Aaron Mattei said it actually. You had more people protesting the resignation or the firing of, what was his name? The old Secretary of State, the guy from South Carolina. I forgot when Trump got rid of him, there was more protesting against that than there were the tax hikes that killed everybody. And just now you see there's more impeachment protest. The Daily Kos is sending me stuff. Hey, we got an impeachment party in your area, but nobody gets out for the Afghani papers when there's millions of lives that were at stake, millions of dollars, trillions of dollars. It's a shame. And I think setting a precedent now against Donald Trump looks more tribal and partisan than ever before. And I think we should just concentrate on beating him at the polls.
I absolutely think we should concentrate on beating him. Yep. So we're going to continue that discussion. But real quick, Elizabeth Warren is another one that has made the news. Tulsi Gabbard for good reasons. Elizabeth Warren, however, because she is having this sort of love affair with the Obama administration. She tweeted this morning, "I'm grateful to have a support of these Obama campaign alumni and my fellow Obama administration alumni. Their work changed what we know is possible in our politics. Together we can win in 2020 and build a government that works for everyone." So first of all, the fact that she has this, she's bringing in neoliberalism again as to using neoliberalism to defeat whatever's happening now with Trump is ridiculous. Neoliberalism is what got us here in the first place, right? Mm-hmm. And so how dare you go and try to pretend that we're going to work with the same system that is literally causing all of our problems? It doesn't make any sense, Elizabeth. If you call yourself a progressive, how are you able to say that? And further, Obama was the biggest disappointment for many of us. Yeah. I voted for him, and he
was a huge disappointment because we counted on him.
We counted on him, we trusted him, and never again. So let me just kind of point out, Elizabeth Warren has been talking and endorsed by several Obama alumni, about 200 of them. And they had a signature gathering effort led by former senior Obama aides Sarah El-Amin and John Carson.
Here's Johnny.
And El-Amin was the national director of Obama's 2012 re-election campaign, and Carson was a national field director for Obama's 2008 campaign prior to joining the administration, both serving as executive directors of Organizing for America, this Obama grassroots organizing effort. And so the list of endorsers shared with CNN includes Robert Ford, a U.S. and ex-U.S. ambassador to Syria, and Sean Carroll, a former senior official at USAID. So just so you guys know, some of these actual strategists and Obama alumni have also worked with the CIA. And these are the people that, that would be likely to support someone like Warren or someone like Pete Buttigieg, for instance. Maybe someone like Joe Biden.
Well, most of them Joe Biden.
But you're not going to find them anywhere near somebody like Bernie Sanders. You're not going to find them near somebody like Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
You're not going to find them, even near someone like Andrew Yang. You're just not.
Well,
and
let's talk about this, because I have a question for you for this and stuff. Because you won't find these people close to these other people, but both Tulsi Gabbard, both Bernie Sanders, and 2015, 2016, and now too as well, they find themselves reluctant to attack Obama, and they stay a distance away.
Well, that's the thing, is that mostly people think that Obama still was a great president.
And
I'd say the majority. People who are in our bubble definitely know that he wasn't.
But that's the conflict. Do we? Here's the thing, and that's a big Jimmy Dore thing.
If we go out and ask a bunch of people on the street, they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, Obama was a great president."
Yeah, but that's the thing he talks about. We have to face our past. We have to turn around and say that this was not okay. And a lot of people have that mentality. This is not okay. But every single time you try to push against that machine, you can have people pushing back against you. Even myself, I was told, like, hey, man, you just seem like another white guy attacking Obama, when my criticisms of Obama are totally different than the majority of those people who are of that nature. Yeah. So at what point do we push back? A lot of people get upset when Tulsi doesn't go after Obama, when Bernie might not go after Obama, but yet they still kind of like placate, or they're walking on eggshells when it's time to go after him, especially a moment like this.
Well, as long as they're not doing what Elizabeth Warren's doing right now, which is, praising the Obama alumni.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she's praising them to a way that, none of the other two have praised. But let's be very clear. The system is owned by the corporate oligarchs, by capitalists, by neoliberals like Obama. Unfortunately, some of those neoliberals like Obama make their way into progressive campaigns. They're gonna, in one way or another, influence them, and we've seen that with, some of Bernie's advisors being from the sort of centrist think tanks like Center for American Progress. Yes. We've seen that sort of influence creep in, and unfortunately, that's because the system that's always been there to push campaigns has never actually had a progressive movement like that to bring people from the grassroots. And that has to change. And we have to be the ones to push for that change.
Yeah. But sometimes I think the reason why it is slipping in is because we were reluctant to go after and attack Obama on those policies for fear of getting attacked for other reasons.
Right.
And that's why I think it's still open and whatnot. The fact that we don't criticize, it allows us to let our guard down and let these people infiltrate even more. And that's a serious problem. That's why we have to deal with the demons of the past when it comes to Barack Obama. This is not okay. This is more telling of what and who Elizabeth Warren is, and that's establishment friendly, and she shouldn't be thought about as a progressive in any way, shape, or form.
No,
That's
at this point, there's no justification with calling her a progressive. So that's good on the candidates, fam, but let's go back to impeachment, because I know this is the main issue,
love talking
right?
about impeachment, right?
Well, no, we did a podcast with our friend Nancy, which was fun, because it really riled us up. Because I was really, really irritated this morning. I was so angry because America loves going to protest with pussy hats and going out there once a year, making them feel like, hey, I did my part. And then they go and they protest for impeachment, in favor of impeachment. They have these little impeachment parties. But they never seem to want to protest for actual things that matter.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is policy change, like they do in countries like we're going to talk about, like France, like they've done in countries like Spain, like they've done in Latin America. We don't do that. Yeah. We just don't. We do social justice issues, but with no way to implement them via policy. And I'm not dismissing some of these issues. As a woman, I'm obviously not going to dismiss the need for women to have equal pay, but I want that exactly. I don't just want equality via a more superficial way. I want equality monetarily. And how we get equality monetarily is by voting in policies that are going to help the working class as a whole, because women tend to be working class. And so that is a very important point that most people don't know about. And let me just kind of
Shameless
read this
plug.
for a minute. No, I'm going to actually go on this tweet right here.
You're going on the Jeremy Simons one.
So
Simons.
here's a picture of the Times Square impeachment protest. And this is a fair-sized crowd considering it's been cold and raining all day. Impeachment Eve, hashtag Impeachment Eve,
This
blah,
is
blah,
so
blah, blah, blah.
stupid.
So this is that. Okay. So I also I want to show Michael Tracy's status, because he said, similar to the Tea Party, the pro-impeachment, quote, movement has always been dominated by middle-aged white people. And I want to point this out.
Is that Lauren Steiner there in the front there?
Oh, stop it.
It's her in the glasses there. No,
And
sorry.
I want to point this out. No, Lauren is against impeachment. We agree.
Now she is?
No, she's been against it.
No,
the
she's
time
for
she's
it.
talked to me, she's been against it.
All right, well then you turned you've done a miracle there, because she was for it and we used to argue about it.
Oh, well, I don't know. With me, maybe. I don't know. But the point that I want to make this about middle-aged white people. Look, I'm not going to focus on that. But what I'm saying is, just like the protests in China or the protests in Ecuador, you can tell which protests in Venezuela, for instance, are funded by the establishment. Why? Because the people look a certain way. The people have a certain sort of luxury to these protests. You're not seeing the grassroots Bernie Krat, the grassroots Tulsi Krat, the people that are even communist, leftist, like. You're not seeing those people there. You're not seeing them go to impeachment protests. Why? Because they think it's a waste of time. Because they understand. I'm not going to speak for all Bernie Crats, because unfortunately some of them are pro-impeachment. But what I am trying to say is none of that impeachment does nothing for the working class. It does nothing but distract away from the issues we should be talking about and addressing.
Wait a second. Isn't Donald Trump the big problem for all our problems? I mean, what was like almost like shadowing what the Republicans, these crazy Obama was responsible for everything. And even to the point where I was like, hey, Obama needs to get better on this and that. Like, oh, come in. You guys are going to blame him for the weather? Yeah. You attack him for the white suit? All the stupid shit. Well, now you're kind of mimicking there. And once again, fam, we've talked about this before. If you're going to get out in the streets, you got to march for policy. You got to be specific. You don't march just because it feels good.
But that's all the Democratic Party has become. That's all they've become. Whatever feels good. So I want to point out, fam, that the Democratic Party is a party that, oh, yeah, Johnny, please show those pictures, because one of those said Putin's puppet, blah, blah, blah. One of those said Donald Trump is like Donald Trump. I mean, I don't really care what they say, but when they start saying things like Putin's puppet or something like related to Russiagate, I'm like, Jesus, the propaganda has worked. It's worked. You got a super chat?
Yeah, Jack Sith, thank you for the super chat contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. This is on the CONVO Couch YouTube. It says WikiLeaks and Assange on the impeachment docs.
Exactly.
Really? Oh, my Lord. Which, that's an area talking about our civil liberties. Why not? The keeper at the gate, the guy who showed us the truth, And sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and Donald Trump could have been different and actually, protected Assange and protected free speech, but he didn't do that. And a lot of people thought he would be that guy, and he didn't do that.
Oh. Naz Calito over on the MCSE network. Thank you for the super chat contribution, as it is always appreciated on the couch. Thanks, Pasta and Fiorella, for giving us some informative commentary on this impeachment process. Don't laugh at me.
It's
my
okay.
Brooklyn
We all
tongue,
laugh at his.
It got stuck in my thing.
Tongue.
Larry Alger's watching today too as well. Michiko is here.
Michiko.
We love you. Gilbert Flores. A lot of other people. Joshua Pegg. Looking good, baby. Looking good. Steve Wilbrandt, as always. And Elizabeth Bergen, Netherland, with Dolores Peters.
Nice.
Next topic, fam.
So, fam. Now, this relates to the Democratic Party's hypocrisy, right? Because they're like, oh, let's impeach Trump. Donald Trump is a vile, racist, homophobic, sexist. He's the worst president, blah, 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 blah. I don't like Donald Trump, and I've made it very clear here. I can't stand the guy. But How are you going to say you're against Donald Trump and then, as a Democrat, continue voting for his disastrous $738 billion military budget?
Say what?
And the Democrats, 188 of them, joined him and said, hey, yeah, we're gonna go lead these impeachment Eve parties. We're going to go and have these protests, and we're going to talk about how awful you are. But then we're going to give you more power and more money to continue destroying not only the domestic economy of America, but also to continue killing more people abroad, securing our imperialism. Yeah.
Let me tell you something, fam. They're with him. They're with him. This whole circus to act like they're the opposition to Donald Trump is a lie. Because they were with him right here in this budget, but they were with him on the other budgets. They were also with him when they were extending the FISA court warrants. They did that for him. He's the craziest guy in the world. We're going to give him more powers to go on there and not be accountable for who he wants to spy on, because we did the same thing. Right? And they also extended the AUMF. Mm-hmm. So don't fucking sit here and tell me that this is the opposition party to Trump. It's just a big circus, a big distraction, this impeachment. And unfortunately, Democrats have been exposed.
Yeah.
It's somebody else who's been exposed. Thank you so much. Your girl, right?
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi. But before we get there, I just want to say,
go ahead.
The people that voted against that, some of those people were the majority. I think all the squad, Ro Khanna, Tulsi, they did not vote for that military budget. Bernie Sanders did a whole thing on why Donald Trump is terrible, blah 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 blah. So did Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
I mean, at least that's good. But then I'm just not understanding that if we're gonna vote no on the military budget, why are we voting for impeach? It just gives him more power. You know what I mean? Like they're not seeing like the connection
it's pandering
here.
I think it's I don't know if it's pandering.
I wouldn't say it's pandering.
The squad is new to Congress.
Yeah.
So maybe they haven't done their homework on what a lot of this Democratic leadership has done for finances in the past. If you look up at Debbie Wasserman Schultz, I mean, God, she took funding from somebody who wanted to open up a immigrant detention center. Mm-hmm. She took their money. In Florida. I mean, so it's all over the place. Pelosi, we talked about it before, but the squad really needs to get with this because it makes them look hypocritical. We talked to somebody the other day. Remember what they said? Oh, yeah, I like Tulsi, but she voted for the impeachment. And we were like, oh, my Lord, the fact we weren't even mentioning the impeachment, but he brought that up. And these moves make them look so hypocritical for the undecideds, the independent votes, the independent people out there who know this is a circus.
And the majority of this country is independent. That's the thing. And that's why you're seeing all these issues with independent voter. But Nancy Pelosi, like you said, she admits that Bush was lying about Afghanistan. And let's show this little video of her, because this is very cringe, Johnny.
Cabral.
So, Speaker Pelosi, you resisted calls for the impeachment of President Bush in 2006 and President Trump following the Mueller report earlier this year. This time is different. Why did you oppose impeachment in the past? And what is your obligation to protect our democracy from the actions of our president now?
Thank you. Thank you for bringing up the question about, because when I became Speaker the first time, there was overwhelming call for me to impeach President Bush on the strength of the war in Iraq, which I vehemently opposed. And again, I said at other places, that was my wheelhouse. I was intelligence. I was the ranking member on the Intelligence Committee, even before I became part of the leadership of Gang of Four. So I knew there were no nuclear weapons in Iraq. It just wasn't there. They had to show us, they had to show the Gang of Four all the intelligence they had. The intelligence did not show that that was the case. So I knew it was a misrepresentation to the public. But having said that, it was in my view, not a ground for impeachment.
Okay.
That was,
you can lie us into a war.
The election.
It's not grounds for impeachment.
Yeah, exactly.
You can lie us into a war. That's okay, fam. It's not grounds for impeachment.
It's ridiculous. This is why when they want to impeach Donald Trump for a phone call, It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't want to take the side of the Republicans or Donald Trump's side.
For that matter.
Yeah, but what's right is right, and by doing this, because of things like this, because of what Bush did, and she openly admits, I knew, and but I just.
She also knew about torture too, fam, and did shit about it as well. And
exactly.
It's kind of funny because we just got the message today that Shahid Buttar will be coming back on the show to talk a little bit more about his campaign. He is running against Nancy Pelosi, and I can't wait. I just want more than anything for him to get involved. For him to win the jungle primary, where she has to campaign this time, because last time all the progressives split the vote and a Republican made it in there and she didn't even have to campaign.
And we'll go catch her.
Yeah, that's right. But this time I want it to be different around Shahid Buttar. Will be on this show again. It will be his third time on the show, and that would be great. So
awesome. And so you guys, this is my point though. Like how can we talk? How can Democrats talk about impeachment when they refuse to do it, when they should have done it, and now they're using an excuse to do it? So what I'm saying is America needs to take to the streets and stand up for economic justice and for an anti-war movement.
yeah,
Because what's happening is that's not what we're doing. For example, this man named James posted on Twitter,
Lamar.
average out-of-pocket spending for a day in the hospital. U.S. is $1,013.
Look at the difference between all those countries.
Austria 22, Germany, Sweden 11, Estonia 2, Norway free, Denmark free, Canada free, Italy free, UK free. Oh, not for long. Portugal free, Spain free, Israel free, even Israel. Iceland free, and Poland.
And even they'll pay for your cab fare too, home on most of these
And we
countries.
fund Israel. So we fund Israel to have health care, but we
don't get it
we don't
ourselves.
get it. Okay.
All right, got it.
That
Your
makes a
tax
lot of
dollars
sense.
gives them free health care, but you don't get it, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. And so what I really want to point out too is I have this tweet here.
Shameless plug now.
This is the shameless plug
Got
now.
it. See,
Okay, fam.
okay,
We could
boomer.
shameless plug yourself into anything.
Oh, I do. I know. I just like I love when you say it. Shameless plug. Shameless.
So
But you hit it on the nose.
Well, yeah, we need to take to the streets for healthcare as a human right, for solving our housing and homelessness, for economic justice by billionaires and corporations, election integrity, no more war. And if I had more room, I would have added for freedom of speech,
Yeah.
/ civil liberties, the censorship, all
Yeah.
of that. And we're not going to have an actual revolution until we do that.
Yeah.
And I say that because Bernie Sanders is the first person that always talks about this kind of thing. He's like, it's not me, us. When I get in there, if I get in there, that's when the work begins. And so people expect one person to change everything, and that's not how it happens.
Yeah.
We have to take to the streets, not for impeachment, but for these issues that we want passed through Congress.
And on all those
Period.
things, there has to be a bill attached to those things.
Right.
Like, you have to know exactly. Like, if it's healthcare as a human right, we have now AB, whatever coming up. It's got to be held out with the signs. This is what we're doing. So we have where we want this specifically. Here's a bill that gives California's healthcare, whatever. Or if there's a bill that gives us national healthcare. Same thing with election integrity. Here's a bill. We need to get this straight. You know what I'm saying? It's not
Like
just in
Tulsi's
general.
Securing America's
America
Elections Act.
Like,
Yeah.
we have to know exactly what specifically we are marching for.
Exactly.
And Fred Edward makes a good point in the
Love Fred Edward.
in the chat. He says, "Who can afford to take off work to protest?"
That is true.
That is true.
They have us consumed. This is
It's the double-edged sword.
This
That
is
is true.
programs.
When we do it, we got to do it right. We got to make the most of it when we do get time.
Right.
We can't just been out there marching for generalities. It's not going to work. And Zcon, which is Xican, thank you for the super chat contribution, as it is always appreciated on the couch. Policy change must work hand in hand with a replacement ideology that supersedes neoliberalism. Last efforts be in vain. NL, what is that? National League? NL is a political economic system and flies under the radar as social philosophy. What is NL?
NL?
NL.
I'm not sure what he means.
It's political economic system and flies under the radar as a social. Help us out. What is it?
Well, let us know what it is
Let
in
us
the
know
comments.
NL.
But
Thank you for the super chat contribution, Zcon.
so this is kind of what I want to get to is we need to learn from people like France. France, we've always looked to. They led in us in the revolution before. And now
same
they
thing.
continue
Neoliberalism.
leading us, and they're standing against neoliberalism of Macron. Macron decided to increase the retirement age to 64 because people are living longer. And now, he's like, no, you guys have to work longer, and we're going to cut your pensions, which is something that's been happening across Europe. And people said no.
Eiffel Tower.
Guess what? So you see in France, they're marching for economic injustice because they want economic justice. They're not marching because Macron said something that was, insensitive yeah. What does that get you, you guys? I'm sorry. What is that? If you think I'm insensitive, but what does that get you? It doesn't get you anything. And the way they're doing this is amazing. So someone mentioned about Fred Edwards mentioned about we can't, afford to protest. But how are they doing it here is that they are helping each other out. They are all on the same page. They're united, and they're for this cause. The Eiffel Tower employees walked out. The subway metro employees walked out. Everybody from every sort of profession joined in on the protests, on the massive protests that there are in France.
And they haven't stopped.
And they haven't stopped. And they're in Bastille, which obviously is historic, storming of Bastille. And I mean, to me, that's revolution. That is what needs to happen in America. But America has excuses. America's afraid. America will go to march for impeachment, and they won't do that for economics. Look at what they're doing to us. They're making us pay ridiculous amounts for medication. They're making us pay ridiculous amounts to for criminal injustice. Like if you get arrested, you have to pay this ridiculous bail. You need all of these things. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the poor keep getting poorer, and the poor end up paying more than the rich. And it's this perpetual system that until we do something about it, until we care about economic
Gotta eat 'em, fam.
injustice, we're going to continue doing it.
We need some fried Macron rice, or a fried Macron soup, or a braised Macron filet. I mean, we have to do something like this because they haven't stopped. And by watching our Western mainstream media, you wouldn't know that there were protests going on that have not stopped. The Yellow Vests have not stopped. They've been at it, and they're specific of what they want. And I'll bet some of these impeachment rallies are probably funded by some of the establishment too as well.
They are. They
so
had
when
a
you talk
little
about
thing,
with the
a little
people,
website.
So they get the money there and whatnot, and financial people will fund this to make it look like because that's the thing. It's like that whole thing when everybody starts standing up. Everybody else starts following suit. They don't know why they're standing up, so they try to do this whole impeachment process where they put all this money. Oh, we better get in the streets. There's a lot of people getting in the streets. We have to go out there and defend our democracy. Give me a break. It's a big distraction, and that's the thing, Fred Edward. We just got to make the most of it when we can do it because we are overconsumed. We are overworked. We're a paycheck away from being out in the streets. So we're scared. They got us by the cannolis, but we got to find a way to persevere and get out there. Cannolis.
Oh. But we have to, but what to Fred Edwards' point is like, if we're going to do this, it has to be agreed upon and everybody has to do it. Because when everybody's in the streets, what are they going to do? Fire everybody?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's that kind of thinking that we have to organize. We have to organize.
Thank you so much. We got 134 people watching on the Convo Couch YouTube. A great show today. A lot of stuff to cover. The holiday season is upon us, and we are working hard. Thank you to all our Patreons too as well, who have helped us out. We got a lot of you guys now. You guys have been piling up. Anthony Allen, thank you for the Super Chat contribution, as it is always appreciated on the couch on the MCSC Network YouTube. Donald Trump, thumbs down. Tulsi Gabbard, thumbs up. Tulsi 2020. Will Bernie fight for election integrity? Fam, I'm going to let you answer that because that's one of the areas where a lot of people who are upset with Bernie Sanders is because they're.
I have made it pretty clear that this is one of the issues Bernie Sanders has not been as good on, and I think it's fair to say that. And I think it's more so the campaign and certain people in the campaign than him. And I believe that that's going to come if we, his supporters, push him for it. And what I mean by that is we demand that be paid attention to. We know, I showed you guys a tweet of 6-7 months ago that I had about California. Some people in the campaign were not happy with that tweet. And, but fast forward to now, that tweet and all of these things that are happening in California with independent voters, with a bunch of people in other states are very, very true. And more people are realizing, hey, we need to pay attention to this. We need to organize. We need to figure out how we're going to have our people watch, how we're going to combat this, because we can't afford to lose. We cannot afford to lose. The only way that Bernie Sanders doesn't win this presidency is if they rig it against him.
Yeah.
Because he has the numbers, he has everything else.
I'm thinking that this actual impeachment might be a way that it would really hurt the Democratic leadership, because I think a lot of people have to separate themselves from this. I didn't like Bernie Sanders' tweet today when he said Donald Trump is the most corrupt president of all times and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't
hate
like
that
that either.
shit. I really do, because to me, George Bush is by far the worst president ever. Whether he was manipulated and he didn't know what was going on, that's not an excuse. George Bush, to me, was the worst and what he got us involved with. And then you have people like Hillary Clinton rubbing elbows. And don't get me wrong, Barack Obama did awful too as well.
Ronald Reagan was pretty bad too.
Ronald
He
Reagan
won a
was
Peace
awful.
Prize.
What's that?
But he won a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, right. I know.
right?
Please. But I think as we get into this whole process right now, we have to start talking about it. A lot of people are saying impeachment is good for Donald Trump. It's bad for Donald Trump. I think we have to start analyzing the ways to beat Donald Trump. Because I often think about when Donald Trump did get elected. I said, well, what are the positive things, hoping for something to get out of it? And there are three areas, I think, where people in the middle and independents will talk about Donald Trump, or that's the reason they will vote for Donald Trump or not vote for Donald Trump. And the problem is not just what is really going on, it's the way it's being framed, the way it's looking in the mainstream media, because the mainstream media doesn't do a job of really attacking Donald Trump where he should be attacked. When he's looking powerful is where he actually has some weaknesses.
Exactly.
So I want to go over this whole thing on how to beat Donald Trump, because just recently in recent news, there's now another kink in the armor. And I think it needs to be exploited, but nobody's talking about it, because why? We're talking about the stupid friggin' impeachment. So, with the election coming up, it's time to take a look at what is helping and what is hurting the Don. And here are three areas where Trump can pick up a lot of independent voters. And I want to talk about this. And the first one being anti-war or being a non-interventionist. And despite having the biggest defense budget of all times and using that money to unjustly bomb Syria, as well as ramping up the bombing in Afghanistan, Donald Trump is going to frame this as this being a continuation of Obama and Bush's war. And I put this article up on the Forbes, and you can see it right here, plain and simple, that in 2018, the U.S. has never dropped as many bombs in Afghanistan as it did in 2018. In other words, they almost tripled. By 75%, they amped up the bombing. And yet, Donald Trump gets to look at it. And I put this up right here. But the worst part of that is, if it ain't Tulsi or Bernie on that debate stage with Donald Trump, Donald Trump can attack any establishment candidate from the left on foreign policy, because the Democrats themselves support the position on regime change and intervention. Venezuela, Hong Kong, Bolivia, just to name a few. This is an area where the left should be able to pound Donald Trump into submission, but they can't. Why? Because they suck. Plain and simple. There it is, fam. And I want to talk about this because we talk about this often, that Donald Trump is not the non-interventionist that he gets made out to be. However, to his base, to everybody out there, he hasn't started a new war. Everything we talk about, even with Venezuela, Barack Obama, and there's footage out there of Max Blumenthal going on a show and saying, why did Barack Obama label Venezuela as a military threat? So he's continuing the wars, is what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, he's continuing their wars, but that's also not. I mean, I think we have to make very clear to people that, a lot of his supporters that want to pin him as an anti-interventionist, that continuing Obama's wars isn't what he said he would do. He said he would not do that. He said he would be the anti-interventionist. So even if it was started by Obama and then previously by Bush, then okay, great. So can you do what you said you would do? And he hasn't done that. And so we need to stop with this idea that Donald Trump is this non-interventionist, because like Pasta said, he's actually escalated in places like Afghanistan. He helped with a coup, tried to push a coup in Venezuela. Look what happened in Bolivia with Ted Cruz and his little guys being involved in this sort of coup.
That's his coup now.
Exactly.
That's his coup. That's his intervention. Bolivia belongs on the hands of Donald Trump, and it's up to us to get that out here, because the mainstream media, Bill Maher, when he had Tulsi Gabbard on, he says, you're like Donald Trump, you're a non-interventionist. That is how the mainstream left is spinning this in a lot of ways. Okay, they are saying that he never started. I think they said he's the first president in like the last 7 to not start his own conflict or something like that. But he's continuing that, and that was before Bolivia.
Yeah.
But he's continuing on these wars, and he's going to frame it like that. He's like, these senseless wars that were started by Obama, I'm trying to get him out, but the military-industrial complex doesn't want to let me. We know he's not going to get out of Afghanistan. Why? Because the opium's there, and he's a businessman. He's not giving up that opium.
With people like Pompeo and people like our evil Geppetto, he's not ever going to be a peace candidate.
Yeah.
Ever. Because those are the people driving, the weapons over
Yes.
there. He's also increased funding and support for military aid as well to Israel.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where a lot of our money goes. Another thing he's done is been Saudi Arabia's bitch. And that's continued.
Troops. It's the truth.
On and on again. And that's what he's been doing.
But the way he's framing this is a scary moment. And once again, this is why we're out there full-fledged. And it really sucks. Got into that room in the in Long Beach at the LA
convention.
All these people are for war. They're standing behind the OAS. You know what I'm saying? And it's a shame because he's getting away with bloody friggin' murder.
And they're not
here.
criticizing him for
exactly.
What,
Why?
for
Because they stand on his side. The major of the fucking Democrats themselves.
They just
Excuse me
voted.
for
They
cursing.
just voted, and they proved
Gave
it.
his money. They gave
time
him
and
money.
time again. Every single time there's a military budget vote, you're going to see a bunch of Democrats voting with Donald Trump.
2, the second area, the economy. Another area where Democrats should be able to pound Donald Trump into submission, but they won't. Only Bernie Sanders has called him out. He's done this on every single reply back to the State of the Union. Here he is in one of the State of the Unions, and this is what you got to do. You got to be specific. None of the Democrats, in fact, some of them, like even once again going back to Bill Maher, is like, well, he's doing great on the economy. The stock market's doing good. No, he is doing shit on the economy for the everyday average person, for the worker. Homeless list is growing, and nobody's calling him on it.
What
Sorry,
percentage of people are in the are even count in the stock market?
It's low. It's under 25%
Exactly.
of people.
So
You know what I'm saying?
how are we still using that as a measure to say, oh, the economy's doing great?
GDP
right?
growth.
That's ridiculous.
He says it's a hot economy. That's the whole thing. And you know what? He gets away with it. But here's Bernie Sanders calling him out, and we need more of this.
For many of President Trump's billionaire friends, the truth is they have never, ever had it so good. But for the middle class and for the working families of our country, the truth is that the economy is not so great. Over the last year, for example, real inflation accounted for wages for the average American worker is up by all of 1.2%, just $9.11 a week. In fact, real wages for that same worker, that average American worker, are lower today than they were in 1973. Let me repeat that. The average American worker, after adjusting for inflation, is earning less today than he or she did 46 years ago, despite huge increases in productivity. Sadly, millions of American workers are now forced to work 2 or 3 jobs just to pay the bills and to keep their heads above water economically.
Okay, so there it is. And I like this part about it because, he always goes after the unjust inequality, talking about the rich people. But this is him putting out statistics where the everyday average person is not doing better. Comparing those numbers back to 1973, fam. This is the tactic we need to use to hit Donald Trump in the head over the economy.
And this is where I love Bernie Sanders, because this is where he focuses on. This is his wheelhouse right here, like the economy and how the wages have been stagnant and how we're making less money than people did back in 1973. That is ridiculous. I mean, people, you can just state these facts like whatever. That if you really listen to that is insane. We're supposed to be progressing in life and not regressing, and that's what we've been doing. And people like Donald Trump like to talk about how job employment is down, how he always puts in the statistic of black unemployment is down under Donald
all
Trump.
these fugazi statistics,
blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous because, like Bernie said, people are having to work 3 jobs just to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And that's not even considering how much the cost of living, the cost of rent has gone up, where people up until this point right now are working full time and they're living in their cars and they have full time jobs. So why isn't the majority of the Democratic Party attacking Donald Trump on this? Because they are just like him when it comes to the economy.
Yeah.
They are just like him when it comes to being responsive to corporations over people. They're just like him when it comes to anything that involves money. They're pro-capitalists or pro-neocons, neoliberals. It's the same type of system.
They got money in the stock market.
They want to keep their seats cushioned.
Yeah.
They don't care about the working class.
Yeah.
So they can't attack him on that.
And I'm going to finish up. We'll finish up the section, number 2, before we get to the super chats. But Tom Steyer also said at the KDM convention in Long Beach, and this caught my ears too as well. We caught him, and he also called out where we watch what he says. This is what you need to do. This is an area where we need more Democrats to get to.
Can beat Donald Trump. I'm not sure he's going to be their candidate, but at the moment I think most primary voters are assuming he will be. And if he is, I think people want to feel like whoever the Democrat is has got to be able to stand up to him, specifically economically, and take him down for the failure that he really is on the economy.
You know, I feel bad that meeting I went to when the guy was talking about Tom Steyer, I got up and walked out because it was like, I'm not listening to this shit. But ever since we've seen him, he has been growing on me. And not to say he's my number one candidate by any means, but really this is important right here. This is where we got, because he's calling it out. He's
a billionaire himself.
Yes.
So.
I mean, the fact that everybody's sitting out there and bragging about Donald Trump on the economy, the mainstream media, is disgusting. And fam, I put this up here for you. Can you read that one for me?
Yeah, the mainstream media, especially the left outlets, don't talk about the homeless. They don't talk about poverty, but they always talk about the stock market. Let's face it, MSNB Latte C, its main viewers are affluent wine moms. And then Pasta has this tweet.
Yeah, because you put this up, and I was laughing hysterically.
Russiagate is cue for wine moms. It is. It absolutely is, fam.
And that's their audience. That's what's going on. You know what I'm saying? They're so disconnected from the poor and everyday average people, you know what I'm saying, that it's disgusting. And they don't talk about those things. They don't talk about Donald Trump being a failure on the economy. And I put, in addition to the spin of Donald Trump on the economy, don't ever tell me that neoliberals would ever risk losing their jobs by having a true progressive win rather than having Donald Trump getting reelected. This is CNN Money, the anti-Trump channel, doing a little clip video on how great Donald Trump is in the economy because of attitude. Watch this bullshit.
Disgusting.
Who deserves credit for the booming American economy?
How much credit do you give President Trump for a strong February, or does President Obama deserve some credit?
How much credit does he get versus his, Obama?
It's interesting that Republicans say, well, the economy is going gangbusters. Well, yeah, it is. Thank you, President Obama. Wrong. There is one person who deserves credit today, and that's Donald Trump. And it's all thanks to the one thing his critics dislike the most, his big mouth.
Jobs, jobs, jobs.
Here's what I mean. We're now more than a year into the Trump presidency. Pick any number you want. Jobs, stocks, corporate profits, they're all gangbusters. And it's true that those measures were already strong when Trump took over and have basically continued on a long-term trajectory that started in 2009. But something feels different about the Trump economy.
I've created over 1 million jobs since I'm president.
There's a momentum, an energy, a bravado.
The stock market is way up again today, and we're setting a record literally all the time.
It's as if corporate America, Wall Street, and even blue-collar workers suddenly have their mojo back.
We will buy American, and we will hire American.
It turns out the only thing the American economy was missing these last 10 years was confidence. And nobody is as confident as Donald J. Trump. President Trump's nonstop boosterism has flipped a switch in the minds of investors and CEOs. He's got their back, and he's delivered with a fat tax cut and aggressive deregulation. And he's been the lucky beneficiary of a rare coordinated global comeback. But this goes beyond just policy and timing. Trump has become the cheerleader in chief, and you can measure the impact. In the months Trump became president, small business optimism had its biggest gain since 1980. Consumer confidence now stands at a 17-year high. And investor sentiment? There's nothing but bulls out there. It's as if the American economy itself now reflects Trump's own ego. Everything is the biggest.
The biggest.
And the best.
The best.
So 1 year in, the economy is firing on all cylinders. The worry is now turning to that engine overheating, and we'll see if the president can take the heat, if and when this economy cools.
Fam, I'm going to let you make comments on this because I only put GTFOH. That's CNN money saying that because of Trump's bravado, because of his energy, I had to do the Trump. Johnny, you know when he does
Fam,
this?
I'm pescatarian, but I'm ready to eat the rib
I
after this.
know.
I mean, it's disgusting.
Oh,
and
God.
CNN barely mentions Bernie Sanders, and they smear Tulsi Gabbard, but then you see how they talk about Trump. They're uplifting the guy. Because why? Because they would rather win or lose to Donald Trump than win with an actual progressive that's going to take away their cushions, their money, their lavish lifestyles. It doesn't get any more clear than this. They might as well have been an ad for Donald Trump because that's how bad it is. And also note how the only time they attack Donald Trump is his sexist remarks, his rude attitude, how he looks, etc. Why? Because they will never attack him on economic policy because they really don't want to change anything. They talk about how Donald Trump has given big tax cuts to corporations as if that's a great thing. Meanwhile, people are like in debt and they're paying taxes far more than taxes and companies like Amazon and Netflix. It's insane.
I'm not going to go. Listen, that's just the biggest thing. That's a lie. And you could see how they were talking about it. It's a bull market. It's for investors. It's for small businesses. It's not for the everyday average
not for small
friggin'
businesses.
America. It's not for real, true small businesses.
We're headed to a recession
We
because
are.
small businesses can't compete with corporations.
Yeah, and it's disgusting that CNN, you think that they're the opposition to Trump. No, they're not. No, they're not. That's just terrible.
Very clear.
Let me go to some super chat contributions. Thank you so much, Baltazar228 on the Convo Couch YouTube, and it is always appreciated on the couch. HR 3057 is probably the most comprehensive election reform bill ever created. Calls for the RCV and mixed member proportional redistricting. That's interesting. We got to look into that one. You have that one up there?
Fair Representation Act.
Baltazar also say hashtag Robespierre didn't guillotine himself.
I don't know. Is
Why are you
that
laughing?
the French guy?
Help me out there.
Well, she's laughing at your pronunciation,
Robespierre.
Pasta.
Well, you should read that when it comes to French. Why do I got to read the French word? Thank you so much, Baltazar. You are us. He didn't guillotine himself. Who guillotined him? The people?
Guillotine.
Guillotine.
Jeez.
Guillotine
come
it.
on.
No?
No, it's not guillotine, Pasta. It's guillotine.
It's guillotine.
It's
Anthony
guillotine.
Penza.
We need a class in French.
Paisano, $5. Thank you so much. And as always, appreciate on the couch. I'm gonna make an gnocchi for Fiorella. Thank you for you. She thanks
Pasta
you.
speaks worse Italian. I speak better.
Also, we have Anthony Allen. Thank you for the super chat contribution. We already said it before. We got you. Thank you so much. And we have people watching the show today. Thank you so much. So now, fam, in the news is why we did this whole segment. This whole song and dance I wanted to bring in has a connection to what really happened just recently. Trade. Okay, this is a serious kink in the armor that has been exposed. And I don't know why we are not seeing the Democrats take advantage of this. When it came to all these things, when the independent voters, they were like, okay, well, maybe he'll do good for the economy. Maybe he'll be in a non-interventionist. Also, trade. His whole ideology on trade. A lot of people who don't understand trade, and neither do I. I've been doing a lot of research on it, and I did a lot of research in the past. I watched a lot of Max Kaiser to understand what was going on, and he explained a lot of things, and a lot of things from Ben Swan. So let's see. This is Ben Swan breaking it down. We're not going to run through the whole thing. We'll start it off, and I'll tell you when to stop. But a serious kink has happened when it comes to trade and Donald Trump, and I don't think people have realized this is an opportunity to go after him because he failed miserably. Let's go.
Phase 1 of the U.S.-China trade deal is apparently in full swing, and billions more in tariffs were averted overnight. But one economist is saying Trump's economic policies are making America weak. Paul Krugman, a New York Times columnist and well-known economist, says that POTUS's Phase 1 trade deal with China has accomplished almost nothing, going on to say American consumers and farmers bared the brunt of this trade war. So joining us to break it all down, investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben, what do you make of Paul Krugman's criticisms of Phase 1? Should we take them seriously or should we disregard, given Krugman is known to have a liberal slant?
Yeah, well, certainly Paul Krugman does have a liberal slant. But look, when we look at the numbers here, and we focus on the numbers as we do on Boom Bust, we know that this trade deal has not been everything that the president had said it would be. And certainly phase one has not accomplished what the president has said it would accomplish. Look, as you mentioned, about $160 billion in additional new tariffs that would have gone onto Chinese goods was averted overnight. So that's a very positive thing. Certainly for American consumers, it's a good thing. But when we look at what's ultimately happening right now with this trade war, all the things that were promised, that China is going to buy billions upon tens of billions more in agricultural products from the United States, that is not happening. It appears so far that the U.S. is saying about $16 billion more per year in 2020 and 2021 than we've seen in the past. That would take us to roughly about $40 billion in agricultural purchases. But the Chinese are not even agreeing to that. They're just saying, we'll see. We'll see what the numbers shake out to. So it's not a good sign. It seems like there's a lot of spinning going on to try to make it look like it's a win. It doesn't necessarily look like a win.
Yeah, now you and I have actually discussed.
Okay, so there it is. What had happened, these other tariffs were set to take place coming up, and it was going to really be a strain on the economy. We haven't seen the war yet for us as far as when it comes to the tariffs and stuff like that. But we're talking about that these that were gone into play, we might have seen them every day. Now, who was affected were the farmers throughout this country, really, especially the soybean farmers, whatnot. I think we saw a video of Tulsi Gabbard talking to somebody in New Hampshire or whatnot about the trade war has hurt them, because now that America can't sell their apples over to China that they were selling within the States, and all these small businesses were folding because now they can't compete with the big farms that can outbid them and sell their apples at a much cheaper price. So it was actually hurting a lot of farmers within the United States. But working our way backwards, I think the reason why this was a positive thing going into Donald Trump's his first term was the fact that he understood trade in a different way than, let's say, Obama did, or politically where Clinton gave us the NAFTA agreement. What Donald Trump, his whole theory was called mercantilism, okay? And it's a theory that explains Donald Trump's trade war. And we have it right here. And there's one insert I took about this. Max Kaiser would say it's neo-mercantilism because Donald Trump was really forcing it on far. And what it is, and here I have a little passage, I want to read what this is. The idea was to maximize the value of your exports and minimize the value of your imports in order to increase wealth and the amount of wealth your country had. So in other words, we have all these other countries going around doing different things. They're working on different monetary systems, but you value what you got going in over there high, and what's coming in you devalue. Therefore, you essentially bring up the finances of your country as a whole. Okay, so in other words, their products would be very cheap, but your products would be more expensive over there. And that's the method he tried to use. And it says this was accomplished by preventing imports of finished products by means of tariffs, the promotion of domestic manufacturing, and the strict control over the money supply. Now, this is another thing. He targeted his tariffs over there was a plan to try to bring back manufacturing in the States. Therefore, you can only bring over bulk items, and then the rest of the manufacturing will be done in the United States. It didn't work out. These policies were best, and it talks about where they were best expressed in France by Jean Baptiste, and that's where he got this whole theory from. So what he did was, and a lot of people said this, at least Donald Trump is trying to do something when it comes to trade. He's just not bending over the way the TPP was proposed, that Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and NAFTA. He tried his shot. The only problem was, is that the Chinese waited it out. They're more methodical. And I put this up right here in closing. Donald Trump's attempt to reset the trade policies came up short, and American farmers paid the price. Unfortunately, the Chinese are better at chess than Donald Trump. They play the long game and are as patient as can be. Donald just lost his queen. However, will the Democrats seize the opportunity and use this major blunder to hurt Trump in an area believed to be by many as one of his strongest? Okay, fam, this is a big kink in the armor right here. He essentially failed playing bluff, playing chicken with the Chinese. And now, backtracking, we've even got a little bit less than what we started from.
And the Democrats, again, won't attack him on this because they support even worse policies. They support neoliberal policies like the TPP. And they are, if they were smart, they would actually be like, oh, hey, look, we're going to change Trump's disastrous trade policies. We're going to go and help the farmers. We're going to go and campaign in the Midwest and talk about how we can employ our farmers, how we can give them tax cuts, how we can focus on how they can rebuild and make more money, how we can, use new industries like the new industries like in Green New Deal, whether it's hemp or whether it's other industries, solar, and help our farmers cut costs using these new industries. Instead, what they're doing is once again focusing on the emotional aspects of why Donald Trump is so bad.
And also, too, like you said, their policies when it came to NAFTA, when it came to TPP, it's like it's either what do you want, the frying pan or the boiling water, you know what I'm saying? Donald Trump took a shot at something by trying to use neo-mercantilism to enrich his country. Now, it might not have worked, but a lot of people are going to view it as, hey, man, he took a shot. But now right here, he failed. He fell down. And the Democrats can't attack him on it because why? Their policies are just as bad, if not worse, when it came to NAFTA. So people have to be educated on this. They have to learn about what's going on.
And the reason it didn't work, too, is because it's mercantilism was flourishing under a more actual laissez-faire economy. Our economy, contrary to what economists believe, is not a laissez-faire economy. It is a oligarchy where corporations control everything. So once you have the corporations pretty much controlling the market, it is no longer even a free market to begin with. So therefore, mercantilism under John Baptiste is not going to work. And in America, it's just not. Again, the system is set up in this way now, and that's why we have to change the structure of the system.
Yeah, if we have more citizens with more businesses, with more,
we would need small businesses more.
A lot more small businesses where that would work. It would make sense. But under an oligarchy, like you said, NAFTA actually plays out better for them because then they can even furthermore manipulate things on trade and when it comes to what's that? Crony capitalism. So I mean, he took a shot here. He lost. And he should be called out for it. But once again, the Democrats don't know how to go after Donald Trump. They don't know how to attack him. And therefore, they will lose on this one when it's a serious kink in the armor. Also, a little extra fuel to the fire. The other day, Trump denied the Armenian genocide. This is a move now, fam. You play chess as well. Erdogan, right? He doesn't want to piss off Erdogan. So you can better believe there's some type of deal or something worked out with Turkey because this isn't about him getting votes. I had a friend of mine whose father wanted to bet me that Donald Trump had a chance to win California. I'll let you out of that bet right now because after this, you got zero chance of winning California. I don't care what establishment Democrat. This ruins you in L.A. You have no shot now. But once again, he's moving a chess piece. You can better believe he's chumming up with Erdogan, and he doesn't want to piss him off, and that's what this is about. Also, I have a picture last night, fam. We had a friend of the show, Mark Jerusalem, came and visited us. There's me and Mark. Look at him. Thank you for your support, Mark Jerusalem. It was great meeting you last night. He sent love. He was talking about how Fiorella was so brilliant. I told him, would you please talk about me more? Not Fiorella. I talk about Fiorella all the time. But yes, thank you, Mark Jerusalem. It was great seeing you last night. Johnny, before your topic, did I miss any super chats?
Yes.
You're going to read this one right here.
Why do I have to read it?
Because it's French.
Oh, it's French. Oh, shoot. I can't even
Balthazar.
see that. Oh, hi, Balthazar. Maximilien Robespierre was the guy who guillotined the French royal family only to get guillotined himself later. Ah, yes.
Well,
a little bit of history.
Well, I'll take a guillotine if I get to guillotine all because it's quick and fast, but I'll chop off the heads of everybody else.
Thank you for the super chat. Yeah. It's always appreciated.
On the
Okay.
Go ahead, fam, you got to do more.
I don't need to be you. There's enough in the world with one pasta.
Ooh. Tally Segalis, how you doing? She's over on the Facebook. What up, Tally? Donna J, we love you. Larry King, Mia Mitsa,
Larry King, like the Larry King.
Yes.
Or Larry King.
We love you guys. Keith Ward, man, Tally, she's amazing. That brain is beautiful. I love talking to her. Give me a call. Hit me up. We'll talk more politics. We'll talk more social issues.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. She is awesome. If you haven't seen our Bernie Sanders video, it was one of the videos that me and Johnny did. It really started kicking us in when it came to a lot of different stuff that we like to do in these different videos. Tally won the...
I know.
The trivia. Mainly she won because her final answers, who do you want as the vice president? She's like, oh, Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, she gave a great answer.
So there.
Unfortunately... I'm so sad you might not be at the AOC Bernie rally Saturday, but I will.
Johnny, let's get going with your stuff because you have a little thing to prove.
Real quick, here's
there
our video.
She is. Show that there. Tally Segalis, she won.
This video was really fun to make,
yes.
Ladies and gentlemen. I would definitely recommend watching it.
Fun.
Bernie.
And she's wicked smart. And there's a lot of people who are wicked smart. There's
Wicked
one person who
smart.
didn't get one question right, though, too, as well. She's like,
Wicked smart.
Bernie Sanders wrote a folk song? And my face is just...
If you're a Bernie fan, you know. We got one more before we go.
Jay Bird.
Okay.
Let me hear it, Pasta. Thank you for the super chat contribution.
Oh, God.
As it was always
Really?
appreciated on the couch.
Come on.
Come on, Jay Bear. Oh, real quick, let's shout out Twitch.
Twitchies. Come on, baby. Let's do the
Twitchies.
Twitch. Johnny beat me in hockey last night, but
Salts
he
of
cheated.
Bowls, Feet Meat Fire, Hyman Stocks,
Hey!
Chaos
How many peeps?
Evase. We got 3 viewers.
3
Woo!
viewers. We love you, 3 viewers. Thank you so
They
much.
said we need to interact with them more.
Yes, we will interact with you more, but F Jeff Bezos. We'll get back on, I
Yeah.
promise.
Okay.
So what do you got, Johnny?
All right. So yesterday I saw Bernie made a tweet.
Mm-hmm.
Did Bernie lie about Tulsi's voting record?
Woo! Woo!
Now, to be fair, he didn't mention her specifically.
Woo.
He made a general statement.
Woo!
But yes.
Yesterday, Bernie made this tweet. It says, Congress just passed the $738 billion defense package. We spend more on defense than China, Saudi Arabia, Russia, India, UK, France, Japan, Germany, South Korea, Brazil combined.
Combined.
Which is insane, and I'm glad he's saying that. We need to fundamentally change our priorities as a nation.
Absolutely.
But he got a lot of backlash for this statement that he makes here.
I am very proud that I am the only candidate in the Democratic primary to have voted against all of Trump's defense budgets.
All right.
So,
yes,
what I wanted to show is that that statement has gotten a lot of backlash from Tulsi supporters, including this tweet from Terrence McNulty. He says he is knowingly lying to the voters of the United States. Tulsi Gabbard has also voted against all of Trump's defense budgets. The entire Sanders campaign knows his claim is false. There's also another tweet by @NoMoreWars2.
Mm-hmm.
Says hashtag Bernie is lying. Tulsi has voted against all of Trump's defense budgets as well.
Got them all listed.
They provided links here, so we're going to take a look.
He said military budgets. I think the defense budget is the specific thing.
No. It's the what is it?
Because there's different
National
parts of
Defense
it.
Authorization Act.
Right.
For fiscal year. Yeah.
For fiscal year, yeah. So that's the budget. So we have all the receipts. Let's just take a look at the receipts. I want to thank No More Wars for gathering the links. 3 of the links are correct, but 1 of them is not. So I went and found it. But the 2017 one is correct. So we can look here. This is a government track, which gets all the info from congress.gov. But they, lay it out in a very nice way. So we can look here. If we go down to Hawaii in 2017, we've got Tulsi voted no. 2018, National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2018. Again, Tulsi
Pretty sure
says
she voted no for all of them. Yeah.
no, right?
Didn't
I'm
they
just showing the
abstain for one
receipts.
of them?
I'm showing the receipts.
You got it.
HR 5515, John S. McCain, National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2019. I think they named that one after his death, He died in 2018. But again, Tulsi voted no. Nay. So, and then at No More Wars 2 references the last link, and it's a reference to this one. And at first I thought it was incorrect because, it's S-1790, which is not a House resolution bill. But I looked it up. S-1790 is the Senate votes. And this is on the question of on agreeing to the conference report. The conference report, if we didn't know, what is a conference report? A conference report refers to the final version of a bill that is negotiated between the House of Representatives and the Senate via conference committee. It is printed and submitted to each chamber for its consideration. So Tulsi did vote no for that. And the whole point I'm trying to make...
That's some good research there.
Thank you. I didn't fucking...
That's the thing. We work and then we go do more work. Like I was doing that whole Trump thing last night. I was going over a lot of stuff trying to cover my tracks. Johnny was working on this here.
I also want to show, okay, so she voted no on the final version, right?
Yep.
But on HR 2500, National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2020, which is the same as the other ones that I've shown, she voted no vote.
No vote.
No vote.
Abstain.
She abstained.
Yeah. Almost like today's vote, fam.
And I kind of want to make something really clear about this one. This was really interesting. Here's a graph, and it shows that 220 Democrats, only Democrats, voted yes for this defense budget. No Republicans in the House voted for the defense budget. So that was really interesting.
There was probably something in the wording in the literature, because I think she got something involved, like almost an amendment in this, and that's why she abstained.
So does that mean it's kind of inconclusive because she did, for that specified one, abstain?
Yes, I was going to think that when I first did this research, but then it turns out,
Surprise, motherfucker.
Bernie also did a no vote for the last Senate one. Yeah. So his statement's almost a little false. And
no vote meaning
he abstained.
He abstained, didn't do a firm no.
Oh,
just like Tulsi on this last one.
Okay, so
I think they're both busy as hell on the campaign trail, and they just didn't vote.
Well, yes, I remember that. Actually,
I would like to see them take a strong no, but they both voted no vote.
Well, no, I actually remember this. I think we talked about it because I remember Tulsi was being smeared as saying she voted for it, and we had to correct in a few shows back that she didn't vote for it, and we showed it, but it was AOC. People were saying there was one where it was like different parts of it.
HR 6157 was department is the one that they always bring up. HR 6157 Department Appropriations Act.
Yes,
which is different than the.
Yes, that's what it was.
Than the Authorization Act.
Yes, correct.
It says it right here. It says the federal budget process occurs in two stages: appropriations and authorizations. This is an authorization bill, and the other one's the appropriations bill that they always get her at. The
appropriations had a specific.
It's interesting that she voted for the appropriations bill. I thought. Let me see.
When we did it back then, I know she voted for money for the veterans,
mental health or something like
for
that.
veterans. It was a specifically targeted vote.
That's why when it came a chance, she abstained too as well, because like she got literature in there, but then she abstained. I think it was a very, once again, that chess move, and you can kind of see Bernie kind of mimicking it.
I wanted to look at it. So HR 6157, you can look at the provisions, the major provisions of the bill.
Yep.
The bill provides, the big ones were, the bill fully funds the 2.6% pay raise for the military.
There you go.
The other thing was, it was, what was it? Didn't like
something
that
about
one.
equipment, right? Like
it was, the one I saw that was good was there's a lot of bad in this bill, I'll tell you that.
Of course.
Specifically, the bill provides $364 million for cancer research, $125 million for traumatic brain injury and psychological health research, and $318 million for sexual assault prevention and response.
All right. So that's like saying the money's going to go there. We have to somehow get some of it to go to the places we need.
It was going to pass anyway.
Yeah. Well, she didn't have to vote no. She didn't have to vote yes then, is what I'm saying. But anyways, that's more money for cancer, psychological health, and that's great. I do have some qualms about the other funding, the Title VII related agencies, continuing the operation of the Central Intelligence Agency Retirement and Disability System Fund, the CIA Retirement Fund.
Yeah, screw that.
More money for spooks?
Yeah.
Fuck that.
I was going to say that, fam.
Yeah.
Title VIII. Title VIII includes $500 million for Israel cooperative programs. An additional $47.5 million is provided in Title II for Israel anti-tunnel program. More money for Israel. Can't get a bill passed without that.
Who voted for that?
Tulsi did.
No, who else?
If
I recall, there was several people that did. I'm not mistaken.
It was 6157, right? Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Yes, nearly everybody. 137 Democrats, 222.
Did AOC vote for that?
This was in 2018.
Oh, okay. So this was before her
this
time.
was before them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
I think Castro also voted for this.
What about Ro Khanna?
Yeah, Castro did vote for this. Ro Khanna does not show up, actually. Was Ro not in an office?
He was there.
Anyways, what the whole point
but that
is
was the appropriation.
I just want to show all the intricacies. you're not ever going to find a bill that will satisfy everybody. But I do recall Tulsi or Fiorella, you were explaining that she voted for this specifically for the pay increase to the military personnel.
Yeah.
But also that money that goes to all research, cancer, PTSD, all that stuff too as well. It's almost like an Amendment King kind of thing where the bill's going to get through, but what can you get? What coalition can you form to get certain things within that bill to help your people out? And that's what Bernie does that.
Bernie did it for the crime bill because the what was it against the domestic violence for women.
So I just want to say that, this is a bad, it's an incorrect statement.
That I am the only candidate in the Democratic primary that voted against all of Trump's defense budgets.
Well, that's
now look, they cut it. Looking at it from a video editor point of view, they cut it like right there. He could have said except for Tulsi Gabbard, and if you look at it, we don't know, but they cut it there. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
so I'm saying it's up in the air. Either he made a mistake or his campaign purposely did it.
It's campaign. It sucks.
Well, this isn't again. Bernie Sanders has made it very clear that he is a fair man of integrity. He's not going to lie, but I agree that some people in his campaign, like I've mentioned, aren't necessarily fond of her. And they have made it clear that they have these centrist tendencies. For instance, who tweeted today? Donald Trump is the worst president of the United States. Who tweeted today about the Republicans being the ones that are, interfering, election tampering, interfering with our elections. And you'll see he did a post on Facebook too under Bernie Sanders where he was criticizing the Republican Party for interfering with our elections. And if you look at all the comments, it's a bunch of burners being like, it's not just the Republicans, Bernie. It's not just Bernie knows that. I know he knows that because he was an independent. I mean, Bernie Sanders is the guy that was like defending Castro, that was over there, talking with the Sandinistas. This guy, I know where he stands. His campaign, there has issues, and I feel like they need to start paying more attention to what people like independents are saying. You're not going to win by going after the centrist. They're not going to vote for you. They're still going to smear you. They're not going to give you the fair treatment ever. And that needs to change.
So just to clarify, okay, I wanted to show this because I think the statement was incorrect from Bernie because Tulsi did not vote for any of the NDAAs. And I'm saying Bernie got a lot of flack from this from the Tulsi supporters. And but I also want to make clear the point that I think they still are working together, and that this was a campaign mistake.
We don't know, but let me say this much: Bernie's campaign needs to get their shit together. They really do. I mean, there's areas where he keeps messing up. We talked about the Cheng thing. It makes him look indecisive. And that's why Jeremy Corbyn, and somebody put on our chat about what's going on in Britain, you cannot look indecisive.
Exactly.
You have to look like a strong leader. And this kind of back and forth, and then making comments like this. Right now, and you could say more than anybody, fam, when it comes to the Tulsi and Bernie people, there's a tipping point right now. It's getting heated up in there. And, with stuff with AOC's brother was saying stuff. And the way
but
he's
not responsible.
We understand that, but once again, that people they're looking at it in a different way and saying, well, Bernie needs to get these people together. And I agree with you on that tweet.
Think
I'm
that's
like,
ridiculous.
He can't control everybody, but there is a point where there's areas where the campaign can control stuff and they're not doing it and they're being indecisive.
You know what's also a possibility is that his campaign told him, Tulsi did vote for it. Look at this HR 6157 appropriations bill, and then
or whatever. I mean, I don't even think it's that deep. I think he's given this information to say, and he's saying it. Yep. He's trusting people to handle.
He's got to look at these responses though. These are not good. These are not good.
There's all the responses on there are
not good.
Same thing with the Republican thing, like with only blaming Republicans for the election stuff. Same thing with that. Yeah. And again, I am a firm believer that Bernie Sanders knows all, at least with the election stuff, he's very aware that it's not just Republicans doing it. He lived through 2016. He knew he didn't just concede right away. Right. But there are people in his campaign who are advising him a certain way, and they are actually hurting his campaign. And that is what's happening. And I think his supporters need to not be afraid of criticizing him, need to not be afraid of pushing him more towards the left, to be more, to demand more, to listen to what his supporters are saying, not so much what an advisor or, a guy who used to work for Center for American Progress tells you, because the grassroots is what got him there. The grassroots is what's going to win this election for him, and that's who he needs to listen to.
Touche. Johnny, anything else before we get to the Super Chat contributions?
Nope. I just kind of let me see
That's
something
good.
real quick.
Let's go on to the super chats.
Yeah.
Okay, so the super chat contribution, Bethlehem Tezefe, thank you for the super chat contribution. As it is always appreciated on the couch. I bet it's never a dull moment with pasta. You did good, Fee, even though we love hearing pasta say that. Much love to all. Thank you so much. Environmental Coffee House, thank you for the super chat contribution. As it is always appreciated on the couch. She says, or he says, or whoever says, check us out. We mostly cover climate Earth issues.
Ooh, okay.
We have to check you out. And we have another super chat contribution from Ungi, Michael Ungerleiter. Thank you for the super chat contribution. As it is always appreciated on the couch. Impeachment is going to backfire like it did in 1946. Like a 1946 Studebaker with a gas tank full of beans. P.S. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you, Ungi. We love you. And that Studebaker is backfiring, and so will the impeachment. We need to get away from this. I am very, very, very happy with Tulsi Gabbard's vote this morning of an abstention. I thought it was good enough.
Before she votes on the actual impeachment.
And a free bird in 1969. Thank you for the super chat contribution. Says, yes, love you guys. Well researched. Thank you so much. We try our hardest, and we want to thank you all, our Patreons, everybody else who helps us out. That's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Johnny, you got anything else for closing?
No, that's it.
Eva Crowder here hanging on out with us in the studio. Thank you, Eva. We love you too as well. Remember to go over to our Rockfin tomorrow. We will be streaming the debate live on Rockfin like always.
What are we going to have with us?
F-I-N, Tina Desiree Burke in the studio from the Real Progressives, or District 34. Should have been District 27.
McLefty face Desiree Berg is her name on Twitter.
Yes. She's awesome. Good combination.
She's savage.
You got us in the studio with Johnny Sue. We'll be spinning on those ones and twos. Go over to our Rockfin, ROKFIN. Thank you on the Twitch for hanging on out. And thank you for our Patreons. If you got a few extra bucks, can help us out. We'll put it into play. For Pasta Jardula,
Fiorella,
Johnny Sue on the ones and twos, and Eva Crowder in the studio.
Combo out. Stop making Pasta say his little jingle, please.
It's always appreciated on the couch. Johnny, how about a peace?
Peace.